when you have a song that you have dance moves to, I
Yeah.
mean, you have to do it. You have to go all out.
They've been doing the choreography since they were small children. It reminds me of like the era of like everyone doing the single ladies dance at Thanksgiving.
Or the dollar wine.
Oh,
I was
yeah, that's
thinking about
actually
that
more
song the other
accurate.
day. I was like, dollar, dollar.
I'm dead. Yeah, that's actually more accurate. Why were we all doing that dance as like small little children?
5 cent, 10 cent. What was it? Eddie? One
Yeah,
cent,
5 cent,
5 cent,
10
10
cent,
cent, a dollar.
dollar,
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 dollar.
dollar, dollar. Screaming.
Add that to the playlist, please. Editor,
Oh my God, you're
add it to the
right.
playlist.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another week of spoiler alert. It's an HEA. Why does your face look like that?
I wasn't, that was perfect. I wasn't even making a face. I was just rearranging to get comfortable.
Okay.
Continue.
Mean mugging me. Rude. Okay. This week we are going to be chatting about one of our favorite books. Well, one of our mother's favorite books.
It's one of my favorite books too.
Yeah, I think we all like and love. No, I'm sorry. We all love this book, but our mother loves this book to the degree that when Elena Armas came into town, Julie and our mom had to be seated and in attendance.
Yeah, it was really, really nice on her book tour for the long game.
Mhm.
Um, and she saw that it was happening and she's like, here's the link, purchase the tickets. And I was like, it won't let me purchase more than one. And she's like, okay, dot,
Purchase
dot,
one
dot.
and then purchase another one. And she's
Yeah,
not
so
buying it.
I definitely did purchase tickets for us and then drove us down there and then bought us dinner afterwards.
10 out of 10 date,
I
mother
win.
daughter date.
I absolutely win.
I was just getting the selfies and the photos that y'all took. Jealous that I was not there.
It was really, really great. Elena Armis she's a fantastic, like attention getting author who's like,
Hmm.
I am just like you guys. I used to just read books and critique them. And I love all the monster romance. And I'm like, you're singing to the choir. Like, come on, girl. No, not singing to the choir. You're preaching to the choir, Elena. I'm right here with you.
Yeah.
But it was fantastic.
Yeah. So really excited to be talking about the Spanish love deception today.
Let's get in it.
So the Spanish love deception opens up with Catalina, Lina, talking with her best friend and work colleague, Rosie, about how she's in desperate need of a date for her sister's wedding, which thankfully that is not the case for me for your upcoming wedding. I'm just going to show up regardless, but also
I mean,
my person will be there.
absolutely. He's invited. Like he is all the way invited. He's not like a plus one. He,
Yeah, he's
if you
invited
guys did
whether
not live together, it'd be like, here you go, sir. Come on over.
I'm not even mad at that because yeah, even if we weren't together, you guys should still be friends
We would be.
because y'all do get along.
We do.
Freaks of nature.
We just want to be as cool as us.
Perfectly cool on my own. Me, myself, and I is all I had to the end. And then I
Okay,
found
okay.
out
So we're gonna get the lyrics right, or we're not gonna sing.
I can never get the lyrics right.
Yeah.
It's not in my nature.
Let's just get back into this. So Lena has this problem and she's venting to her friend at work, Rosie. And Aaron, our male main character, walks in and he's overhearing what's going on. And he's like, I'll be your date, Catalina. And she's like, I don't hear him, so I'm just going to pretend like he does not exist. He's nowhere. I'm just gonna not even turn around.
Yeah, she's just going
And
to ignore him when he's making her an offer that I, for one, if I needed a date to go somewhere and someone was offering to go with me, I would say yes. But she also hates him. But
she does.
it's not like it's like what's the level of hate in comparison to him and then like Jeff or Gerald? Like we can weigh that. But sorry, jumping ahead.
Who's Jeff?
Jeff is like their boss who's like not
Oh,
really around, but around.
I read this book, I promise.
He's not important. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Okay. So she's like, Rosie, what are we gonna do? And she really needs a date because this isn't just a wedding. She's the maid of honor because it's her sister's wedding, and her sister is marrying her ex-boyfriend's brother. So
It's too
for
connected.
sure, yeah, like there's no way to avoid him. He'll be at the rehearsal dinner, and they ended really terribly. And now the rumor is he's engaged to somebody else and he's so happy. And now that she's in the States and going back to Spain, she has to show up correct. She
Mhm.
needs to have the person who is way hotter, way smarter, more everything than Gerald when she comes to this wedding.
Exactly. And though Aaron is offering her the perfect answer, she's just saying, no, can't do it. Though she's already told her mother that she's bringing her boyfriend.
We fast forward a little bit in the week, and they're having a meeting and they're talking about the most attractive option to host the event. And they're like, Lena, that's you. Jeff is like, I know who Jeff is. See, Jeff is like, you'd be really good at it, Lena. And Lena's like, why would I be good at this? Like,
Yeah,
number one, I got here like 2 years ago from Spain. So, she has that Spanish accent. Number two, she has no experience in anything like this. And number three, she's still new to the company.
yeah.
But this nasty, nasty man,
Gerald is like, you're a woman and a woman can plan parties and activities and like overall, like she's young and cute, so she can do it. And he passive aggressively, well, not, I wouldn't say he aggressively calls her sweetheart to like nail in his insult. And Lena reacts accurately. She tells him, that's not my name. So don't call me sweetheart again, and to address her with the professionalism that he would address everyone else at that table with. Him being the misogynist that he is immediately downplays it as a joke. And Aaron ends the meeting and everyone goes back. But if that had been me, I would have recorded and taken notes and been going down the hallway straight to HR after that meeting
facts.
ended because you're not going to talk to me like that. Even though HR is not your friend most of the time, but in these instances,
Yeah. Like, let's just start documenting.
mhm,
Even if you can't do anything, write it down, please. Gerald did this on this date at this time.
exactly. And write down witnesses, always friends.
Hmm.
Yeah. Later on, she's working in her office and Max, it's like late at night, and Max stops by.
Who's Max?
Oh my God, I got so confused because of
You mean Aaron? I'm here like, who's Max?
oh,
I promise, I read the book and I'm like, I didn't know Jeff, but I know I don't know Max.
well, your girl is thinking about the worst best man.
Well, she is Lena,
It's Lena and Max. And that is
but
what my
she
eh,
was,
this is Catalina or Lena and Max.
yeah, no,
And what?
no, it's not Catalina and Max.
Oh, what is it? Oh, Aaron. Delete all of that. Moving on.
I think that was good. But okay. Okay. So Lena's working late in her office and Aaron comes by and he sees that she's working on this event that she did not want to have to take over. And Lena's like, man, this guy is hot. Nerdy Clark Kent looking self in this office being an engineer. And oh my gosh, I love how hot he is, but I hate him. He tries to help her and he's like, you know what, Lena? I like that. You don't need anybody else to fight your battles. I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, okay, let's work.
Yep. But before they get to work, Lena is starving because she hasn't been eating regular meals because she's attempting to lose weight for the wedding. And he hands her a homemade granola bar, which she doesn't want to eat at first. And I wouldn't be in it because I don't eat from strangers unless
Nah, man.
I need to go to your house and see your kitchen before I eat anything. I'm not consuming it unless I know.
Mm-mm. Thank you. I put it in my bag and I don't eat it.
There you go. But she takes it and says it's like the best granola bar that she's ever eaten. And
Can
that
I tell you, when I read this book the first time, I went to Publix and I bought ingredients to make granola.
that's why you have hemp seeds and flaxseed.
And I was like, I'm gonna be like Erin. I'm gonna make my own granola. And I was like, for why? I don't even like granola.
It's not that difficult. Well, I like it. So I also you don't have to put those things in granola. Like I put them into my smoothies. Um,
I don't like granola.
mm, okay, that's fair. I'm a fan of it with yogurt as a snack. The person that I live with has been making his own granola every Sunday.
Well, when you guys come down next month, not next month, in 14 days, bring some. So they start to work, and Lena's mom calls, and she has the opportunity to, be like, Mom, I lied. And she does not because she's like, I've been single now for 6 years. So it's been 6 years Lena's been in the US.
Mm-hmm. Because she went to grad school and then got a job.
Mm-hmm. So it's been 6 years, and she's like, I'm gonna just, double down on this lie and let's do it. So her mom is like, oh, and what's your boyfriend's name? And Erin is standing at her office door and she's like, Erin. And their fate is sealed at this point. I'm like, happily ever after. Let's wrap it up. They're gonna be married and live together for the rest of their lives. This is it.
Yep. But that's not the case. He was just stopping by to give her some paperwork, and she is still of the mind that she is not taking him as a date to her sister wedding. It's still a firm no.
So Lena and Rosie go out to lunch, and we kind of learn why Lena's so against Aaron, who I'm like, if he's a nerdy Clark Kent girl, whatever he did can't be that bad. But
Yeah.
it is that bad. So she overhears him right when he started working for the company, telling their boss that he would work with anybody else except for Lena.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to work with her. She's inexperienced, she's young, and she's like, what? What did I do to you?
Lena overheard him saying that to Jeff, and she is rightfully so upset. And skipping ahead a bit further along into the book, she is getting ready to leave the office for the day, and she's about to walk home in the rain. And Aaron pulls up in his car and offers her a ride.
And she's like, nope, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk. It's okay. The train's right there. And he's like, you've got to be kidding me. It's pouring. You're soaked. Get in the car.
And
And
she's like, no, I'm fine.
yeah, reluctantly, she agrees. And he drives her back home to Brooklyn. And while in the car, he offers to be her wedding date again. But this time he offers a caveat because he's kind of a schemer. Like, man had a big plan in his own head, but he says that if she were to be his date to an event that weekend, that he could then be her date to the wedding and it would cancel it out. And she agrees. I hate you. Stop making me talk. It's too much. It's too
I,
late at night. I can't get words out.
you're going, and I'm like, oh yeah, that happens too. Doesn't she live in Bed-Stuy?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, you said Brooklyn.
Yeah, it's
That's
Brooklyn.
okay.
Yeah.
Is Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn?
Bed-Stuy is in Brooklyn. Our family lives there.
They're my family too.
They are.
Okay.
So yeah, she agrees to be Aaron's date for the weekend, and he shows up to her apartment in a tux, and she's immediately taken back at how good he looks, and she's like, "Who is this tall and lean, muscular guy?"
I think I would have to go into my bed and lay down if he showed up in a tux. And what am I supposed to wear?
She lives in a studio, so can't do that.
I know I would go lay down. I do not have tux matching dresses just hanging in my closet.
Exactly. She did not have formal wear like that, and she had to dig through her closet and luckily just found this like dress that was back there in like a midnight blue black color.
Well, they go to the charity fundraiser and we find out it's for the NCAA and they are rescuing little baby animals in New York. And I'm like, oh, can you imagine hot Aaron, hot Clark Kent with little kittens in a little calendar? And I'd be like, oh, yes. So she finds out that she actually has to raise money for this fundraiser. They are bidding on the men. And I'm like, make it rain, yes. And Lena is supposed to bid on Aaron.
Mhm.
And he's like, there's no limit, just make sure you win.
Which I was immediately like, red flag. What do you mean there's no limit? How much money do you have, sir?
Enough.
Exactly. But Aaron goes up to the stage and immediately, like, all of the bidding is going straight forward. Lena does initially bid on Aaron's friend's dad accidentally because she felt bad, but luckily enough, someone else outbids her because then she would not have been able to bid on Aaron. But she ultimately places her bid and she ends up going against this other lady in a red dress. And it's like this heated back and forth.
They were persistent.
Mm-hmm.
And Lena's like, oh, no, you don't. He's mine. And she's like, I mean, he's not mine, but he's mine. And the lady and her are just like looking at each other, daggers. And in the end, thankfully, Lena wins the bid. And when he comes off stage, he is so thankful that she has won. He's like, let's dance.
Let's do it. While they're dancing, he begins like dropping hints in regards to him liking her and says like, being your friend has always been the last thing on my mind. And
I just have to say, Elena Armas has quotes that just have me swooning. And if somebody said these things to me in real life, I would have married them week one of us dating. I'm like, what did you just say to me? Oh my gosh, yes, I will. Where are we moving to? Okay, let's go.
exactly. And Lena is like, whoa, okay. But she minimizes it and she's like, it's not that serious. He's just saying things because it's like, a late night event and they're getting caught up in it all.
But they do agree that he is going to go with her to Spain now. So we're just going to push along with the plan and work as normal. Now, when they go back to work, Aaron, who is hot and very, very ambitious, now gets promoted. And he is now Lena's boss. So she has this feeling like maybe we shouldn't do this anymore because he's my boss. But she hasn't like pulled the trigger to call it off because she still needs a backup plan to go to this wedding with her.
So later on that day, she's again at work, working late because she's working out the plans for the upcoming event that she was forced to take on. And she gets up to go get some water and she immediately gets quite lightheaded. And it's because, again, Lena is not eating because she's trying to lose weight ahead of the wedding and she passes out. On the
Whoops.
Yeah. And luckily, Aaron finds her and takes her to the couch, gets her water, and gives her another one of his homemade granola bars
You know what? I think he put like a hypnosis spell on the granola bars to make her fall in love.
because he's a man that can cook. He drives her home that night, and while she's asleep in the car, her sister calls. And at first,
Ugh.
like, he's not going to pick up her phone because, like, they don't know each
Like
other like
why would you do that?
exactly. But her sister's persistent and keeps calling. So he's like, maybe it's an emergency if she's calling from Spain this early in the morning. And he answers, which honestly, I probably would have answered too. No, actually, I wouldn't. I'm a liar. I would have watched that thing ring. Um,
I would have answered
yeah, exactly. You would have. I would
on the
not have.
second ring. I've been like, oh no, hello? Everything okay?
I wouldn't have. I've been like, okay, that can get sorted out later. But he answers the phone, and her sister's like, who are you? Are you Lena's boyfriend? Are you Aaron? And she asks him a few questions. And right as their call is ending, Lena wakes up and she immediately freaks and is like, okay, well, I'm even further in on Aaron being my date for the wedding. And she's now fully accepting of the plan because, like, there is no moving forward now that both her mother and her sister are committing to meeting the famous Aaron.
So I'm reading another book right now,
Mhm,
and um, during one of the scenes, the girl's computer starts to ring because her phone is missing,
mhm.
and the guy answers it because he's like, "Oh, her best friend's calling her." But when he answers it, it's not a phone call, it's a FaceTime. And he's
Whoa.
like, hi. I'm not wearing a shirt and I'm in the kitchen and I just woke up and it's just like chaos. But yeah, no,
Don't answer people's phones. And that's why I'm not answering them. It can wait. It can't be that important, can it?
maybe. So they have this now trip to Spain and they meet at the airport. And when she sees him, she's just so thankful that he showed up because she was kind of like, what if he doesn't meet me at the airport? What's my plan of action? And she's so relieved that she hugs him. And he upgrades her seat from,
Yeah.
the regular people section to first class.
Yeah, because they have to quiz one another on the plane ride over. And also, again, like she had to bid a lot of money on him at the charity event. And now he's just upgrading her flight because he's a lot of miles. Who is this man? Who is Aaron?
My dream guy. That's who Aaron is.
But yeah, the flight goes well. He's able to like answer all of the questions that she has for him pertaining to her family, and they then arrive in Spain.
And
But
does he like speak a little bit of Spanish at this point while they're on the flight? Or does he surprise her with it later?
he surprises with her later, and it's like after they land she freaks out a bit, and then he's like, don't worry, we can do the Spanish love deception. And he then like proceeds to like greet her parents. Her dad speaks fluent English, but her mom only speaks a little bit, but he's able to greet her in Spanish, her grandmother in Spanish, which Lena is absolutely shocked at.
Like they're gonna love you, man.
Did his homework, he was prepared, he's learning a second language for love.
Maybe that's how I can learn Spanish. I have to do it for love because I can't do it for myself.
Sure.
And it's too late because my dude does not speak Spanish.
Sounds like you're screwed.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna just only speak English the rest of my life. Oh well. Okay, so they are staying at their parents' guest apartment, and there are two rooms, so it's perfect. Erin will have one room and she will have the other. So this is kind of going well until he's like, look at this tiny little bed. I can't even fit in here. And she's like, yeah, you can. And he tries to squish himself onto the bed, and the bed actually breaks.
Yep.
And in walks her cousin Charo, looking at them on this broken bed. And she's like, oh, already? This is what you guys have been up to? You just got here. And they're like, yeah. And she's like, well, I have no place to stay. So I am going to stay here too. So now they have to share a room with only one bed, which is a trope I love.
Yeah. One of your favorites.
Oh my God. We have to sleep in this tent and there's only one sleeping bag. What's gonna happen?
Well, one, a tent means you're in the wilderness. No, thank you. I hate the outside, but I also do love it. It's a conflicting.
Katie Ruggle, one of her books, I don't know, she has like a series of three where they're like mountain men essentially. Maybe it's Into the Wild, that one, where they go and she has her own backpack, but it gets stolen. So they only have his backpack and it's cold. So they have to get into the sleeping bag together. And then it's like this mountain man that's a virgin. And it's just like, ah, Katie Ruggle. So great.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read that.
Yeah, I'll figure out which one it is, but I read them all.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
also link it in the description once you figure
yes,
out which one.
I think it's Into the Wild. I read it like last summer, but okay. So now it's time for wedding events, and the first wedding event is the wedding cup. And now I think that I too need to have wedding events. So please start figuring out some for me, please.
You know, schedule a wedding meeting. Let's do that, preferably on Sunday. I'm busy this upcoming Saturday. Schedule a meeting because this needs to be written down. We can figure it out.
Sure.
Fine. Well, for Lina's sister's wedding, they have several events lined up. And the first one is the wedding cup, where folks are going to be playing all sorts of like athletic games with one another, with it ending with a soccer match. And at the soccer match specifically is like where things just truly heat up and move really fast because one, Lena's sister and family have been noticing how Aaron can't stop watching Lena and is always like there if she needs him, if she needs water. He's just like the best, most supportive boyfriend. And she's a little bit on edge too that day because she's waiting for Daniel, her ex boyfriend, to arrive. And of course, he does. And he like introduces himself to Aaron and says hi to Lena. And the game, the soccer match then begins. And the shirts that they had for the match are in the wrong sizes. So the bride decides it's going to be skins versus shirts. And she orders all of the guys to take their shirts off. And Lena is now seeing Aaron shirtless for the first time, and she's like completely thrown by his abs, which like he's a former college athlete.
And we learned that Daniel was her physics professor
Yes.
and her first love.
Yeah. And he broke her heart.
So the game has started and the teams are tied. And Lena is many things, insane and clumsy. And she's trying to get the ball from Aaron, who's never played soccer before in his life. And she's about to fall, but he ends up catching her and throwing her over his shoulder and actually scores the goal winning shot with her and with her on his shoulder. And then, like, as a celebration, he pinches her butt and she's like, no, she pinches his butt. And
Yeah.
he's like, did you just pinch my butt? And she's like, freeze, don't move. He can't see me. He can't hear me if I don't move. Just hide behind your hands. And here is where I'm like, this is it. Like, okay, end the book now, Elena Armas. This is it. I'm in love with them. Let's do it. Now, I at this part I realized that this story takes place in northern Spain, in like Basque country, where I spent some time with my friends who live over there. So northern Spain is beautiful, and they drink a lot of cava, which is kind of like it's like they compare it to Prosecco.
Mm,
But when they have the night out, I was like, oh my goodness, I love this. I feel like I'm back in Spain, just living my best life,
that was a great time.
not understanding what anybody says. And then they're like, oh yeah, hold on. Julie doesn't speak Spanish. Let's translate for her. And I'm like, don't worry, I'll figure it out.
You
So
did not.
I didn't. I just sat there and smiled.
I know more Spanish than you.
Shut up. Because you can learn that for love. Ho.
That's true. But yeah, they're out for drinks that night. And while at the table, they're chatting and they start talking about like various sexcapades.
Isabella. Issa, the bride. So Issa's asking, how'd you guys get together? Tell us the story. Give us the juicy details. Tell me about all the sex you guys had at work. And they're like, the whole table wants to hear, right? And everybody's like, yeah, tell us, but not Daniel, because Daniel's in his feelings over there, who we did not mention. He showed up alone to the first wedding event. And I'm like, where's your girlfriend at? Where's your fiance at? Where's she at? Is she here? Where
Mhm.
is she?
I need to see her. I need to see the ring. Is she real?
Show me a picture, please.
Right?
But Lina is thinking, like, how can I tell them this story that doesn't exist? And, Aaron to the rescue because Clark Kent, he's like, well, here's the story. Um, when I first met Lena, she was just this loud in your face personality. And I was like, I don't know about this. And on his first day of work, she brought him a cup that said, engineers don't cry, they build a bridge and get over it. And she thought it was so cute. But when she gave it to Aaron, he just stared at it, made her feel really awkward about giving it to her. And then she walked away. And he was like, I was really stupid when I met her, and then I was stupid for a little bit longer. And then I convinced her that she needed me, and then I proved it. And I was like, oh, you did convince her that she needs you, and you're proving it that she still needs you at this moment. And I was like,
Adorable.
oh my goodness. So then it's time to kind of party because you can't just end the night with dinner. You have to go to the club.
Always.
And the club is like packed and people are pushing as they do in clubs, and he's catching her every time or like making sure she's okay or she's close by. The song comes on that is like their song, their childhood song, and it's a Selena and Sonia song, and it's like the song is Yo quiero bailar, I want to dance, and it's like the most Spanish pop song you've ever heard in your life. It's like da 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 dum, da 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 dum. Da 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 da. It's just like a
That's a
fast
really
beat.
good rendition.
Oh, thanks. In
Mm-hmm.
my next life, I would sing it, but at this point in the day, my vocal cords are shot from talking all day.
That's fair.
So their song comes on, Lena gets, nice and toasty with her drinks, and Aaron notices, and after she dances, and she's a sweaty mess because, when you have a song that you have dance moves to, I
Yeah.
mean, you have to do it. You have to go all out.
They've been doing the choreography since they were small children. It reminds me of like the era of like everyone doing the single ladies dance at Thanksgiving.
Or the dollar wine.
Oh,
I was
yeah, that's
thinking about
actually
that
more
song the other
accurate.
day. I was like, dollar, dollar.
I'm dead. Yeah, that's actually more accurate. Why were we all doing that dance as like small little children?
5 cent, 10 cent. What was it, Eddie? One
Yeah,
cent,
five
five
cent,
cent,
10
10
cent,
cent, a dollar.
dollar,
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 dollar.
dollar, dollar. Screaming.
Add that to the playlist, please,
Oh
editor.
my God, you're
Add it to the
right.
playlist. Okay, so she's exhausted and sweaty, and she's like, "Oh my God, I need some air." So she goes outside and she's sitting on the curb, and our superhero Aaron brings her a bottle of water and he's like, here, drink it. And while they're sitting there, he starts to open up about, his past. And we find out that he was raised by a football coach, and his dad realized the potential he had, and then he became his own coach.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of created a really strenuous relationship between them as father and son. And um, the picture that she saw when she Googled him is like the last game that he played, because he's like, why am I doing this if it's not bringing me
Joy.
any happiness?
Yeah.
So they get to the apartment.
And Lena begins to panic because they have to share a bed.
She closes her eyes. He's rubbing her, and they start talking about their feelings. And he says he's patient, but he's making himself wait. And she's like, are you pretending or is this real? Because she's the whole time she's like second guessing,
Mm-hmm.
is this real or is this part of the act?
They almost kiss, but the apartment door opens because her cousin's back for the
Oh,
night.
Charo. I hate Charo.
Charo. Yes. And it breaks the moment. And overall, he's glad that he didn't kiss her because when he finally does, he does not want there to be a doubt in her mind if it's real or pretend.
And that's a quote. Aaron said this to Lina.
Mm-hmm.
So the next morning, Lina wakes up and sneaks out of bed to go get a cup of coffee before she has to talk to anybody. But because life, Charo is there, and she's like 21 questions before Lina even takes a sip of coffee. And Charles like, tell me about you guys. The walls are so thin, Oh my goodness, I want to know more.
Such a nosy
And
cousin.
she really is. And Lena's like, can I just leave?
But she can't because she doesn't want to go back into the bedroom because Aaron's in the bedroom. So she's forced to stay out there with her cousin.
And she's dying while Charles talking to her, and she's like, I'm just gonna stick my head in the cupboard and pretend like I can't hear her. But Charles doesn't take the hint, and Lena's head is like all the way in the cupboard, and Charles still talking to her, and she's like, fine, what can I do?
And then in walks Aaron and he's like, good morning. And as he's getting a cup of coffee and getting ready to sit down, the doorbell rings. And Charo runs to go get the door, which, suspicious
Mm-hmm.
after she was just grilling them. And he grabs Lena and puts her on his lap and tells her that she didn't tell him good morning. And before she can respond or even react to her sitting on his lap, in walks Tia Carmen.
Well, she does start to say like, what are you even doing? And she starts to move, and he's like, I mean, come on, we're together, and it's gonna be weird if we're not together. And she's like, okay, and she settles into his lap.
So Tia Carmen is now coming into the room and immediately begins asking them questions. She asks Aaron, like, what are your intentions with Lena? She's almost 30. And he gives like the perfect responses back to her, Tia. He's like, he loves marriage, it's one of his favorite institutions. And overall, like, they're just eating up everything that he's saying. And it's a really good morning.
And then the doorbell rings again, and it's her parents. And it's just like, okay, you know what? We're just gonna get the day started. And we fast forward to the rehearsal dinner, and at the dinner. They start to ask, questions. Mom and dad now are asking questions to Aaron and Lena. And
Mm-hmm.
Aaron tells them that, he would just pop up around the office to see her and to just put himself into her mind.
Suspect.
And Lena's like, is he really saying this? Because he did pop up a lot at work. But is this real?
Yeah.
And now she's like, everything that he said to her family this week has been truthful. And she's thinking it's truth with a hint of maybe like embellishment for the story. So she's not sure if anything is real or fake. And her family, they tell him, we were so worried after the thing happened with Daniel that when she moved to the States, she'd be lonely, because the Lena that they knew, the loud, happy, outgoing, laughing too loud Lena, disappeared when her and Daniel broke up. And Aaron's like, well, you know what? I promise you, she won't be lonely. She doesn't know it yet, but she's stuck with me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, again, I'm swooning because Aaron is just saying these like unrealistic things. And when she looks at him, she's like, what is he saying? Is he saying like
The
real
truth.
stuff?
Yeah.
And she's like, I just see honesty in his eyes. And it's like, oh my God, he wants to be stuck with me.
Yeah, it's too much. And because of her, she starts to get emotionally like just like overwhelmed by the situation. And she gets up and goes to the bathroom. And as she's walking out of the bathroom, of course, she runs into Daniel, who starts talking with her. And for whatever reason, 6 years later, he now wants to apologize and say sorry for how things went down. And, after apologizing, he's then like asking her, like, are you happy?
Oh,
Are you sure that you're happy?
excuse me, sir.
Rude and nosy. Why are you invading my privacy?
Don't worry about my happiness. It's none of your concern.
And then he begins to project and says that she seems like, stuffy. She's not carefree, Lena. And he's super concerned for her well being.
And Aaron is dry and uptight.
Yeah, which is so rude. You don't know Aaron. And he's like, are you just like, he's basically trying to project on her and say, like, are you just with this man because like your sister's getting married and like you feel pressured to get married? And yeah, he's just really rude and condescending towards her.
So she gets really upset and she's like, don't pretend like you care or know me or even are concerned with my happiness. You no longer have the right to that because you had it and you abused it. And he's like, but Lena, you're like a little sister to me. And I was like, wait, huh? How? How, sir? We
Not
we
at all.
dated. No, 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 no. And she gets very upset. And then he's like, well, don't act like a child, Lena. We're both adults now. And she's like, so well, I was like, were you sleeping with a child when you broke up with her at that point? And she is very upset because when they separated, the blowback that, was thrown out was all directed at her.
Yeah, because she was a woman.
Yep. And he took all the steps back and said, relationships shouldn't be this hard. And if we're fighting so hard, it's not meant to be. And she tells him, you know what? I realized that you never cared about me. And I wish you never came and spoke to me because the little bit of respect I had for you is totally gone now.
Yeah.
The grandma comes and she's like, go get your man, girl. He keeps looking like a puppy. And if you don't get him, I'm going to take him because they didn't make them like this when I was growing up. And she goes back to the table. And of course, Daniel is left at the bathroom and Aaron holds her hand and she squeezes it. And we go home now.
And that night, he asks Lena about like what happened with Daniel and like what led to her like leaving Spain. And she tells him the story of like how he was her professor and she was a student for a year. And after she completed her course with him, that they had begun dating, but everything was going well in their relationship up until other folks on campus found out that they were dating her, and then they then began to slut shame Lena. They said that she only passed the class because she was sleeping with her professor and that she's not that smart and all sorts of like just terrible, disgusting things. And her like disclosing her breakup and then the trauma that like followed is like a turning point with her relationship with Aaron. And that then leads us to the next day, the wedding day.
The wedding has something that I want to do, and I gotta go tell him now. I want to kiss Cam at the wedding. The only problem is there's no projector to put it on, but I want to kiss Cam because I just love the idea. It's
How's
like
that
you're
gonna
at
work? The venue, where would you put the projector? I
above the
don't even.
fireplace.
No, that's too pretty to put a projector screen there.
I'm gonna do what I want. It's my day.
Okay,
Okay.
fine.
So there's this kiss cam, and Lena is a bundle of nerves because she and Aaron have not kissed yet. They were close that one day in the bedroom, and now she's like, "Oh my God, I it's gonna happen, and everybody's gonna be seeing it, and I can't not kiss him because that's my boyfriend to everybody." Like, and Aaron sees the stress ball that she is,
No, but
and
he's also
he
equally
is,
stressed. Like she
yeah,
sees him and she's like, why does he look like work Aaron right now?
shoulders tense, face solid, jaw tight.
Yeah, but they both do notice that they're stressed, and he does. He is like, let's get up.
So they go to the terrace. He tells her that I told you that the first time I kiss you, it's going to be real. It's not going to leave any doubt in your mind on is this real or is this fake? And they kiss, and I'm like, oh, okay, yay, happily ever after. Elena Armas press and now. But no, they go back to the apartment and he takes off her shoes for her and then starts massaging her feet. And she's like,
I hate that. I hate getting my feet
yeah,
touched.
no, I that's my worst, not my worst fear, but it's up there. Like, please don't touch my feet. Don't touch my feet with your feet. Just don't. We'll stop at the knees.
Feet are just gross. Sorry
Mhm.
if feet are your thing. I won't fetish shame. I just don't like feet.
Everybody to each their own.
There you go. I'm not gonna yuck your yum. So
You better not. Well, she starts to stress out because she's like, where's this going? Oh my God. We kissed a lot tonight. He's massaging my feet. We're going to be in the little bed together. And he knows that she is stressed out. And he's like, we don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Whatever you're willing to give me is all I will take from you. And that night, they end up having sex. They do. And they wake up and it's like, oh my goodness, this was the best thing ever. But it's the day that they're flying back to the States. So,
she's freaking out again in regards to what's gonna happen.
and she does give him like some credit for like learning all the Spanish. And he's like, well, teach me some Spanish. This is like the night. I forgot this part because I love this part. And he was like, what's a six-letter word? And what's a five-letter word? What's a four-letter word? And she's like, a four-letter word. And I'm here like, amor, say you love him, Lita. And she's like, four-letter words. And she's saying everything but. And he's like, you know what? We can break the rules. I'll take a seven-letter word. And, the seven-letter word is corazon, her heart. And he's like, I'll earn the four. Don't worry. And I was like, you got the four already, Aaron. They're yours.
So corny.
I, you know what? I was raised on the corniness.
Yeah, I see why you highlighted that as like a really good quote from that part of the book.
You can have, I'll earn your four.
Yeah, he'll earn the four, and
I'm
now
putting those in my wedding vows.
you should. It's cute. And now they're heading back to New York. And she is freaking out and she's terrified about what's going to happen next because he's about to be promoted and he will be her boss. And she sees a similar situation playing out here with what happened with her ex, Daniel. And Aaron is super supportive, like her, and understands her hesitation. And he's like, do you trust me? We can talk to HR and we can have a chance at us at a real relationship.
And she's like, oh, okay, let's try it. And he's like, come home with me. So she goes home with him. And when we get to his apartment, we realize that Aaron has all the money. He comes from a very well-off family, and on his mom's side, they were very, very wealthy. And with that wealth, they believe there's a curse because everybody has passed away, and he's been left with everything. And his dad, being, a football coach, also made life very comfortable because his view is spectacular. And he's like, we'll stay up, we'll fight the jet lag together. And she says, I'm hungry. Let's go get tacos. So they go out for tacos, and she thinks that she sees somebody from work. but when she looks, she doesn't see them. So
Yeah.
she just kind of like puts it in the back of her mind and says, okay, well, let's just keep going.
And the next day they head into work and she's immediately, ambushed by Rosie at lunch because she's like, you have to tell me everything, what happened in Spain. And while they're talking, Gerald walks up and
I hate
is,
Gerald.
yeah, he is so disgusting. And he immediately tells her, oh, one of my um, colleagues saw you and the boss, and
Out last night. You guys weren't even hiding it. And like, oh, a pretty girl like you just get close to the boss, you can do whatever you want, right, honey?
mhm. And Aaron, of course, shows up as this is happening.
And Lena does tell him, don't call me honey. My name is Carolina. And he's like, oh, so now that you're all comfy with him, you wanna make this into a thing.
Hmm.
So when Aaron comes in, he sees everything happening and he says to Gerald, do you want to keep your job? And Lena's like, stop it, stop it. You're making it worse, Aaron. And Aaron says, I asked you a question, Gerald. Do you want to keep your job? And if he said, do you want to keep your life? I've been like, mafia romance. Yes, take him out. Because that's when I'm like, you would kill for me. Oh my God. Thank you.
Swoon.
I mean, I don't want that in real life, but I do spoon in the books. So she walks out and he follows her and he's like, you don't know this because you have not been loved properly, but I will go through all the trials with you. I'll fight by your side because you're worth it. I love you. We can make this work. Give us a chance. And she just stares at him and he just stares at her. Then his phone rings and he ignores it. And then it rings again. And somebody calls you twice in a row. You have to answer it. So he answers it and he walks away. And she's just standing there with her back to him. So a couple days later, she's 3 days later, probably, I think, she's called to HR and she says she's told that a few people have come to HR to file a complaint about Gerald on her behalf,
Yeah, that's me.
but they can't do that. She has to do it herself. So they're like, if you would like to, you can do it. You have people backing you up because there were many witnesses that saw how he treated you. And she ends the conversation telling Lena, and you and Aaron are good to go. He already spoke to us. So just let him know when he comes back. And Lena's like, what do you mean comes back? Where is he? Because she's been keeping herself so busy trying to get over what was with Aaron. And she realized that he wasn't around, but she didn't realize where or what was going on.
He's missing and she doesn't know where he is. And she finds out that he had to go back home as his dad is in the hospital and not doing well.
Home is
And
Seattle.
yes, back to Seattle. Ugh, love Seattle so much. Sorry, random aside.
I would move there, but I've only been there when it was sunny, so I don't think I should move there.
It wasn't, yeah. You, you
I'd
can,
be like, you guys tricked me.
yeah, there's a heat wave. So like, don't, that is not the norm, what was experienced. But yeah, it's a really cute city. And the food is pretty good.
And the hiking was great.
Terrifying, but yes.
It scared you cat.
Heights. Yeah. Mm-mm. Deep breaths. Calm down. Oh,
Yeah.
God. See, stressing myself out, anxious. Please delete all that, editor. Thanks. Cool.
So another reason why I love Elena Armas, I think we should be best friends. Hopefully one day. She we have to be the same age because she references One Tree Hill twice. And
Hmm.
she doesn't do it by name. She's like, this high school drama that took place in North Carolina. And I was like, what? I want to be anything other
Other
than
than
okay.
what I've been trying to be lately. All I have to do is I don't know the
Okay.
words.
Yeah, so let's just we're two for two. So every like episode, Lucas will start with this monologue, some deep stuff that a 16-year-old boy would just spew. And
The show is so good.
it was so terrible. It
It
was
was
good,
for
but it was
its time,
terrible.
it was a terrible show, but for its time, it was good. If it came on today, I would not watch. But also, right now, Chad Michael Murray is like having a relaunch
Oh
for
yeah?
like, yeah, I think he was like on the cover either for maybe The Cut or New York Magazine, and he looks good.
I
And I was
mean, he
like,
looked great then.
he looked great then, but he's aging well. And I'm like, it's because he has not been around. So he's clearly unproblematic.
No, I saw this thing on Instagram the other day and I didn't like, when you can't like send things in time and they disappear.
Hmm.
It was like guys that age gracefully are guys that are not racist.
There you go.
I was like, yes, I think he was on it. But I love Chad Murray. Oh my gosh. I mean, but Montreal was terrible because I don't know if you didn't
I did
baby,
watch.
29-year-old baby. Um, one episode,
Delete my
Dan,
age.
you said it earlier.
I know. I regret that.
Okay, baby. One episode, Dan is getting a heart transplant
Yes.
and he's standing in the waiting room in his like surgical robe. And then the guy breaking the heart trips and falls, and the heart flies out of the freezer bag. And then this dog is in there, and the dog eats the heart in front of Dan. And I remember being like, what is happening?
The drama.
Anyways, Lina is like, yeah, when I watched that show, they talked about like, how long does it take for something to change your life? And she's like, every single part of Aaron being in my life has been life changing. And it wasn't just the day he held my hand or the day he said he was coming to Spain or him at the wedding, but all of him has been it. And she's like, when you meet a life changing person, you can't let them go. So she gets onto a plane and she flies to Seattle and she's like, I'm going to find him. And
Yeah.
she goes to 3 different hospitals asking in the oncology center about the dad because she was able to figure out his name through Google and she finds him.
Yeah. And she finds Aaron in the waiting room and he's all by himself. And she's like, who's Sharon, Sam, and Jason? I don't know who it is.
Well, she runs and jumps into his arms, voice to text.
Oh, sorry, editor, please delete all of that. But she finds Aaron in the waiting room all by himself, and she immediately jumps into his arms and is like, I'm here. And initially, like, he can't believe that she is in front of him. And she apologizes for not being there when he needed her and for giving up when he was not ready or willing to give up. And she's like, I owe you your 4-letter word.
That she loves him. He says that, when I saw you at the elevator, when you were not answering me back, when I was like, fight for this with me, I felt like I lost you, just like my dad lost my mom when she died. And at that moment, when he got the call, he's like, I need to go back to Seattle to say goodbye. Even though they didn't have the best relationship, he needed to go. So he flies over and he doesn't tell his dad goodbye, but he just talks to him about all the things that he's wanted to say over the years. And 2 days later, dad looks like he's doing a little bit better. So at that moment, dad wakes up and the nurse says, come on back, Aaron. And Aaron's like, come with me. And she's like, I will go with you to the end of the world. So when he walks in and his dad's awake, his dad says,
Is this her?
you're Thea? And I was like, that's his mom. And his mom was his dad's soulmate, where it's like, that's your person. And I mean, I don't cry, but I was like a little bit watery at that point. I'm like, that's his person. That's his lobster. And then poor dad, as terrible as he was, he lost his lobster.
Sad. But yeah. And then we conclude there, but we do pick back up with an epilogue a year later, and Gerald is no longer working at the company. He's been fired, and Rosie has taken his job. So his worst nightmare, a woman, now has his role. And her family is coming to visit from Spain, and so is Aaron's dad.
Richard, that's his dad's name. So they rent a house in Montauk and they're all going there. The whole crazy big family from Spain, dad and the caretaker. And they're very thankful because the dad has made it a year and they know that their time is limited. But they're like, if we can bring everybody together at least one time, this will be it. And she knows that a proposal is like on its way. And I'm like turning the page. Let's see when they get to the house. And we don't get it, but they do end by saying, like, we're in this together. No matter what happens in our future, we have each other's back and we're always going to be partners in this thing called life.
Love that.
Are you crying?
No, I'm not, but it's a really wholesome HEA.
Wholesome with a little bit of spice.
Yes, it's steamy.
My glasses were foggy.
So, who is your favorite character from the book?
I think my favorite character is Charo. Charo. Because Charo is just as messy and as nosy as can be. But I think that she really helped move the plot along because had it not been for her, they would have been sleeping in two separate rooms in the apartment. And it would have taken us twice as long for them to realize they love each other and fall in love. Who's yours?
That is so true. She was a chaos monster, but yeah, she did get them together in one way. My favorite character was,
The grandma.
yeah, oh my goodness, Abuela, a chaos monster too, but more intentional with her comebacks and quips. Like, she is rude. I would
Mm-hmm.
not want her coming after me. Like, terrifying. But yeah, she's just very supportive of her granddaughters and their life choices and decisions. And she was just always there hyping them up, even when like other family members were like being critical or not being as supportive as they could have been to Lena. But yeah, grandma, grandma was it. And she wasn't even in it that much. But I enjoyed the parts that she was there for.
I do need to say that the book I recommended earlier, the Katie Ruggles book, is Gone Too Deep from the Search and Rescue series. Gone Too Deep. Mountain Man, who's a virgin, only one sleeping bag. This is it. What are you reading this week?
This week I'm reading two books this week. I am currently reading Courting Samira by Amal Awad. It's a book about a Palestinian Australian woman who is basically on the marriage mart. Like, her and her family have been looking to find someone for her to marry, and this book is about her finding love, like outside of her family, while at the same time like a childhood friend is like kind of expressing interest to her, and that's weird. And yeah, I'm not that far into it, so that whole entire recap there may be incorrect, but that is so far the direction that the book has been going in. Yeah, I'm reading a second one too, but I'll pause there, turn it over to you.
I am reading. Did I tell you about Hooked, the Peter Pan one?
No, you did not. I don't
Okay, so
think.
it's Hooked by Emily McIntyre. It's like a reverse Disney story, where they take it and they spice it up times 1 million. And essentially, Captain Hook is a villain, but so is Peter Pan. And Hook is such a villain that he is going to take Wendy, Peter's daughter, as his lover. And it's just a really fantastic book. That's Hooked by Emily McIntyre.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for listening to our episode this week. And we will see you next week for a different type of episode. It's a mashup. Stay tuned.
Mash it up, mash it up.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Me, myself, and I is all I had to the end. And then I found out